Hello and welcome back to Israel with Aline. Today is September 8th and we are speaking to you from Jerusalem, more specifically from the Wailing Wall, where in a few minutes we will take your names and say a prayer in this very special place. But we have a lot more planned for today because I don't know if you've seen, but in the past few weeks, news started to circulate on the internet that the famous Golden Gate has reopened, and the Golden Gate is also located near the Wailing Wall. So what I want to do with you is walk from this place to the Golden Gate, passing through biblical sites, so we can see with our own eyes whether the Golden Gate is really open these days or not. So if you're ready, let's get started. So say hello to my father, Dr. Jorge. My
Daughter, it's always such a joy to participate in your live streams. Greetings from Jerusalem. As Aline mentioned, we're at the wall. I want to express to you my joy. I've already expressed being here, and I want to take advantage today on September 8th. As Aline already said, I want to take the opportunity and send a big hug to all of us Brazilians for September 7th yesterday. So,
congratulations, I'm celebrating
our independence from 1822. So cool.
So guys, really congratulations to all Brazilians. And I want to thank all of you who are watching, but I also want to thank my father, because if you look here in his hands, there are already the names that you sent.
It's impressive.
They are literally tens of thousands of names. So I want to thank my father, who just before coming here to meet us, he went to a print shop to be able to print all these names. So really, thank you very much. But he, in a few minutes, will go to the Wailing Wall. But before, let's put
all of this.
We're going to put all of this. But a question that I know always arises is, how can it be that we are in the Holy Land, in the land of the Bible, and we come here to pray to stones, pray to the wall? And the explanation is quite simple, folks. We don't pray to stones. Both in Judaism and in Christianity, we have the prohibition of praying to stones, prohibition of praying to anything that is not God. So we come to this place, the wall. We do come to pray at this place, but not to the wall, but to God. And I want to take advantage of a biblical verse to explain this even better. So if you allow me to read it, folks, let's open here the second book of Chronicles, chapter 7. So if anyone really wants to follow along, then it is written the following. And the Lord appeared to Solomon by night and said unto him, I have heard thy prayer and have chosen this place to myself for an house of sacrifice. See that God chooses the place he wants. He chooses Mount Moriah, which is precisely the mountain that is behind the Wailing Wall. And the text continues with the following sentence. Now my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to the prayers offered in this place, for now I have chosen and consecrated this house, so that my name may be there forever, and my eyes and my heart will always be there. See that the Bible says this is a place of perpetuity? Even though Solomon's temple and then the second temple have already been destroyed, God says that his presence and his name will continue in this place. So perpetually. So we are here. We know that God can see and hear us from all over the world, but he chose this place in the world precisely to be a special place in perpetuity. And that's why we come here to this day to pray to God, really hoping that he will hear our name, hear our prayers. And I really feel that this place is a very special place. And that's why I feel very privileged to be able to live here in Jerusalem. For those who don't know, I am Brazilian, but I live in Israel, more specifically here in Jerusalem. And it's a very big privilege to be here. We come here to the wall regularly.
And I'll add, every time I come with you alone, it's impossible not to get emotional. It's a unique place in the world.
Without a doubt. And that's why I really want to be able to give a little bit of this privilege, a privilege to all of you. I really thank everyone who follows the channel. who leaves likes, who comments, everyone who follows and supports our project. So my way of really thanking you is to bring a little bit of you also to this land, and more specifically to this place. And that's why we opened a link for everyone who wanted and who wants to send their names. And we will, like my father, print the names and we bring them here to the Wailing Wall to really bring a little bit of you. We have this custom of the channel since the beginning. That is, when the channel reaches every 100,000 new subscribers, we come here. And today we are very happy to thank you for 2,300,000 subscribers. So we came here, everyone who sent the names through the link, the names were printed, they are here. Everyone who sent through the link until midnight Brasilia time, from Saturday night to Sunday. If someone sent after the time or wants to send still now can send, the link is active. And everyone who sent from midnight onwards will have their names brought on our next round here at the wall. That is when the channel reaches 2,400,000 subscribers. That depends on you when it will be. But when it arrives, we come back here. We do another special live. And today, who will put the names on the Wailing Wall? I am.
Me, it is.
My father, why? For a technical reason.
Yeah, because we're going to put it on the part. The wall is divided, the prayers between men and women. And the men's part has more leg room, right? Because to put a little note and such, it can be in the female part, but for tens of thousands of names, you'll see, you'll follow along.
And
we do this together.
Exactly. The gaps in the men's wall are larger. So what we're going to do, we're going to get there, we're going to split. I'm going to the women's side. My father is going to the men's side, and he's going to put, but we'll meet again in a few minutes. So let's go, let's go. Let me take advantage of something, folks. I want a special thanks to Moti, our cameraman, who's here with us, rain or shine, show or 40 degrees snow. He's here with us. So thank you very much. I'm also going to leave his social networks here, which are Moti Guide in Israel, because it's in Spanish. So Moti Guya in Israel. I'm going to leave it here in the first comment for those who want to follow him too, but let's go. So we'll meet again in a few minutes.
Okay, let's go, folks. I want to show you now the pride that Aline gives me to gather the names, your prayers, and put them on the Wailing Wall. It's something incredible. Let's take advantage. I want to tell you that when I'm near the wall, you hear, right, the noise, the groups, but near the wall, I will be silent so as not to disturb those of you who will want to pray, right? We'll be silent, isn't it?
Let's go.
There, it's very, as I said before, together with Aline, right? I always get emotional, always. There isn't, I can't even tell the dozens of times I've been here, and this emotion is permanent. Let's go. You can see here this division. On this side is male prayer, on that side female prayer. And there is a mistaken interpretation that the division would be to put women on a secondary level to men, and that is not true. What is done with separate prayers is so that men do not get distracted and remain in contact with God. You see, as I said, we will remain silent.
Thank you. Amen.
Well, folks, let's go out.
And
Let's find Leni, who is at the separation. She is on the side of the female prayers.
so guys, we have accomplished our mission. We put your names on the Wailing Wall. As I said, if anyone still wants to put, send by the link, and we bring here with the greatest pleasure our next live. And I want to thank you once again. Stop it.
Thanking, I am your father. You don't know a prouder father than me. Being Aline's father even made me lose my name. I'm going to joke with you, but it's true. I meet people at the airport. I even met some at the supermarket in Brazil.
So, Modi, I'm going now myself to grab the camera, and I want to take you all to see a little bit of the women's side. So here we can see that it's impressive, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, regardless of the day and time you arrive. There are people praying here. I mean, it can rain, it can be sunny. We even see it here in the world of the
Lamentations in
a day when there was snow and still there were people here praying. And yes, for those who don't know, it snows in Jerusalem, not every year. It's once every few years, sometimes for 1-2 days. But yes, it snows. And we can also see here the women's side, the little notes placed, the prayers of thousands and thousands of people. And it really is a demonstration of faith in the Bible, texts that were written so long ago. King Solomon, 3,000 years ago.
and the
Texts are as valid and as current today as they were at that time. And if you notice, we are now leaving a little backwards. It's a tradition here. It's not an obligation. But the tradition is when we leave backwards for really a symbolic issue, not to turn our backs on God. And it's not a rule. Everyone does what they want. But we really feel here that we are respecting this important biblical place to the fullest. We can see that there is also a person next to me also leaving backwards, more people on the other side too. And now, yes, we are near the exit. I will turn around so we can continue our journey. And there are Brazilians here too. Let's move on, folks. Let's meet up with Moti, my father, to continue. Because as we said, we are not going to visit biblical places today and end at the Golden Gate. So we have a lot planned for today. So shall we proceed, Dad?
let's go, let's go.
Let's go. So if you
Yes, and people are definitely seeing people arriving. I always like to remember that the wall is open to prayers 24 hours a day, 7 days, it never closes.
we think very similarly, I told the people exactly that. Indeed, it's a constant faith, not just in today's times. And we see so many Christians, Jews, Muslims, everyone coming to pray at this place. Everyone really feels the power of this place right here beside us too. We're seeing a group here.
Easterners, right?
Everyone, Philippines? Indonesia. Wow. Welcome. Hello? So we can see the group here, the girls arriving. A Catholic group from Indonesia. The place is open to everyone. This also shows Israel's borders are open. Groups keep coming.
I don't know if you've seen yesterday in downtown Jerusalem, I saw a huge choir with songs written Korea Loves Israel.
Yes, we see the love of nations for Israel, and there are some nations that we really see when they strive to show it. And Korea, really, Brazil is one of them, and also Korea and so many other countries that we really see that the nations...
Of course, I don't need to say Korea is South Korea, right? Yes.
Yes, Korea is South. And guys, one thing here at the Wailing Wall, especially at this time of the year, which is the time before Rosh Hashanah and before Yom Kippur, that is before the New Year and before the Day of Atonement. People usually come here to pray at dawn. So during the day there are people, but if you get here at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, it will be completely crowded, this place. We are just now leaving, and there are more people arriving than there are entering, in my impression. And if we get here at dawn, it will really be crowded. So if you want us to come here someday at dawn, leave it here in the comments. Also leave it in the chat. And if you want, we can also come to show. I do my paracord at dawn for us, really.
Come to show.
This place for you.
And
there are some things that I want to show you over here. So we are already arriving, because Jerusalem is a compact city. I mean, the old city of Jerusalem nowadays is only 1 square kilometer. And most of the biblical stories that we know from Jerusalem, they happen within a radius of about 3-4 square kilometers. So every place we pass is full of biblical places, one next to the other. And here I want to show you some things. So all this area here, you see there's a corner, a wall, a giant corner. What we're seeing here is an original part of the second temple of Jerusalem, the same temple that Jesus knew. Ignore the background construction noise. Jerusalem has a lot of ongoing projects, but it's part of the city's character. So here we are seeing original parts of the second temple of Jerusalem. And in the background, we are also seeing a large hill with lots of little stones and stones and stones. This hill here is the Mount of Olives, with the Mount of Olives Cemetery, a very important cemetery as well. Facing a place called, what's the name of this gate? The gate
of
trash.
This, because
Imagine
how did I get this failure? They used to store the garbage here in the old times, in the ancient times, and they stored it here and then burned the garbage gate.
Exactly.
You caught me off guard with this one.
So, folks, imagine that in ancient times, the city also produced garbage, obviously much less than today, but they gathered the garbage in this area of the city. From here, they took it to the valleys to be able to burn and incinerate this garbage. And that's why even today, this area where the garbage was taken out, it's called the Garbage Gate, despite not being the most glamorous name of all. It also reminds us in a certain way a part of the city's history as well. Garbage from 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, for us today is archaeology. And we always have to be careful with traffic here. So, and now that we've crossed, we are officially outside the walls of the old city of Jerusalem to continue our journey. Moti, show everyone here. Look how beautiful. We can also see the valleys here by our side. But here between the Mount of Olives and where we are, the valley is called the Kidron Valley, also known in the Bible as the Valley of the Kings or the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Be careful not to fall, Moti. Be careful. Let's continue here. We have a lot more sightseeing to do today.
One thing I really enjoy learning from you is the Mount of Olives Cemetery. Not only is it ancient, but it has been continuously active all this time.
Exactly. We
go there are recent tombs, and there is the tomb of Absalom.
Exactly. There is a tomb there, for example, the tomb that was found, the tomb of the Pharaoh's daughter, one of King Solomon's wives. That is a 3,000-year-old tomb. And there are people who were buried a few days or a few weeks ago. It's a 3,000-year-old cemetery that is still active. Amote comes here close to show people this tree and its fruits. You can come down here. Just be careful with the stairs, please. So, folks, the tree you are seeing here is an olive tree. And you can see that it is loaded with olives at this time of year. Indeed, they are just starting to ripen. And in the next few weeks, the olive harvests are already beginning. And a curiosity that I don't know if many of you know, is that the black olive and the green olive are exactly the same plant.
How does it come out, green or black?
Guys, if we harvest the olive when it is literally green, it is green. If you wait for it to ripen on the tree, it turns black.
Incredibly good.
I'm trying to see if there's any ripe enough to be black, but not yet. There are still a few weeks left. They are all
green.
They are all very green right now. But if we wait a few weeks, they will turn from green to black. And one thing, you can't eat the olive straight from the tree. I mean, if we eat it, it's not that anything will happen, but it's extremely bad to eat the olive straight from the tree like that. We really need to wait for the whole pickling process, it seems. So when it's done, the pickling process takes quite a long time, and then the olive is in the way we eat it. So this one, no matter how beautiful it is, we won't be able to eat it. Let me put it back in the soil here. But let me show you what's next to us here. Here next to us, we are seeing the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. So you can keep walking here, Moti. We will show the walls as we walk. Look at the size of these stones. But it's important to highlight that these walls are not from the times of Jesus. They are not from biblical times. Jerusalem was destroyed and rebuilt more than 20 times throughout history. And the first thing that is attacked and destroyed in a war, what will it be? The walls that always suffer the most. So when an enemy army came, they destroyed the walls, conquered the city, also destroyed sometimes part of it, and then it had to be rebuilt. And therefore, the walls were rebuilt many times. These walls, as we see them today, the most modern part of them is about 500 years old and therefore are only considered new walls. I know that sometimes speaking to Brazilians, 500 years, which is almost the age of Brazil, is something extremely old. But when we talk about Jerusalem, Jerusalem is a city of almost 4,000 years
of history.
And that's why when we talk about 500 years by Jerusalem standards, it's relatively new. And in the excavations, the original city walls are also found. Down here, you can see that there's the beginning of a neighborhood. This neighborhood is now called Silwan, but we know this place better by its biblical name, which is the city of David. The city of David, within it, has the oldest parts of the city of Jerusalem, and what was also found here in the archaeological excavations are part of the original wall of the Jebusites. And this wall is nothing more, nothing less than 3,800 years old. So we have on one side of the street here a 500-year-old wall. On the other side of the street, going down into the excavations, is a 3,800-year-old wall. And that's why we have to understand that Jerusalem is a city of layers and destructions. A little truck is passing by. It's a city of destructions and reconstructions, and that's why every piece of the city is of a different age. In the same building, we often see parts that are 2,000 years old and parts that are only 50 years old, all in one construction. Here next to us as well, folks, as we are walking, we are seeing archaeological excavations. This is truly an unmissable archaeological park for those who come to Israel. It's called the Davidson Archaeological Park. Here there are also archaeological finds from the time of King Solomon. One thing actually that I've never shown you here on the channel, but I can take the opportunity to tell you about it today, around where that black platform is that we're seeing. Under that black platform, a piece of a wall and a piece of a gate were found dating from the time of King Solomon. So it is believed that perhaps here, the wall and the gate of King Solomon were really found. So there are things from 3,000 years ago and also things from 2,000 years ago, which are, for example, the stairs of the temple. If Mochi can zoom in up there, we will see original stairs. These original stairs, let's zoom in here. So these stairs that we're seeing there, they are original from the period of King Herod. They were the stairs that gave access to the temple of Jerusalem, and through them, probably Jesus passed. We know that Jesus frequented the temple of Jerusalem many, many times. Also in his childhood, for example, when we know the biblical passage that Jesus comes to the temple at 12 years old, it is written that he came here annually with his family. So if he came here annually and went up the temple, these were the stairs he frequented in his childhood, and also probably in his adult life also through here. He entered the temple. There is only once that he enters the temple of Jerusalem. that is not through these entrances, that we know for sure was through another entrance that was precisely through the Golden Gate to where we are going now. So let's continue, let's keep walking, and as we walk, you can admire the beauty of the city of
Jerusalem. Really,
I find it breathtaking to walk around the city. Every place, every stone, everything really has such a big story behind it. So I think there is no other city in the world like Jerusalem. And wow, look here now in front of us. We can see the Mount of Olives very well. We can really have a privileged view of it from here. On the Mount of Olives, as we said, as my father explained to you, it has been an active Jewish cemetery for 3,000 years. And in it we have tombs, as we said, Absalom, the Pharaoh's daughter, also biblical prophets, Zechariah, Malachi, Haggai. So many important people are buried here next to us. The city also has other cemeteries, such as the Christian cemetery located on Mount Zion, in that direction going up. And in the Christian cemetery, for example, Oscar is buried.
Schindler.
Exactly. He is mainly known after the movie Schindler's List, he who saved over 1,200 Jews during the Holocaust. And here I am also seeing that they continue to do archaeological excavations. These excavations are super recent, folks. The last time I was here, they were not happening. And we can see that it is not a small excavation. They are doing a large archaeological project here. So who knows, in a few weeks or a few months, I may have news to tell you about new archaeological findings that were made here, because without exception in Jerusalem, where we dig, we find a lot of stuff. Really, I am trying to see if I can look at anything from here, but from afar it is really hard, but without a doubt we will find a lot. Oops. Be careful, Moti. So folks, we can go around and show people the view where we are walking, because we are now heading towards a place connected to the story of Jesus. Also, many places where we are passing now, we have already shown in different videos here on the channel. Do you see that corner up there? Let me stop here so you can see better. This wall here is the south wall of the Jerusalem temple. So here, this tip here, it's called the pinnacle of the temple. We know the pinnacle of the temple from a biblical passage related to Jesus, which we will read in a second. The only thing I need you to remember is that at that time, the pinnacle of the temple was much, much, much higher than what we see now. So imagine the gigantic height that we are seeing now, and imagine that it was much higher at that time. Now, folks, I want to do the reading for you, Matthew chapter 4. Then the devil took him to the holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. Then the devil took Jesus to the pinnacle of the temple, to that point way up there. And he said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from here. For it is written that his angels will give orders about you, and they will take you in their hands so that you never stumble on a stone." And Jesus said to him, "It is also written, you shall not tempt the Lord your God." Now, the next time you hear this passage from Matthew 4 of the temptation, where Satan takes him to a very high point and says, "Throw yourself from here, look at the height," Here, look, people, I'm going to put myself right there just for you to have a slightly better idea. I'm just going to be careful here when I cross the street. I'm just going to place myself here for you to see the height difference that I have to the pinnacle. I don't know if any mountain can get us both on the screen. There's no chance of a person throwing themselves from that point. And remember that it is the highest of anyone. Someone throws themselves from this height and survives. And if someone did that and survived, if the angels came to save, he would really be showing at that moment who he was to all of Jerusalem. And we know that at this time, Jesus was not yet during his ministry. He was still during his years of silence, of private life. And that's why I also find it so significant to pass by here, because we can better understand physically what the city was like, how the stories unfolded. So really, when we pass by here, we can understand how tiny we are in relation to archaeology. So for the last time, I'm going to show you over there for the people, because I really always get shocked when I pass by here. The original height of the Temple of Jerusalem, folks, from the highest point to its foundations would be equivalent to a 21-story building today. Not the pinnacle, which is extremely high, but not 21 stories. Still, it's a colossal structure, even by today's standards. The temple started exactly here at the tip, at the pinnacle, and it continued until where? Up to the other end, near where the sheep gate was. Nowadays, the Lion's Gate, that's half a kilometer, had this side, and now we're going to walk alongside the eastern wall of the temple. So we saw the southern wall, and now we actually saw the wall. Let's start. We saw the western wall. The western wall is what we call the Wailing Wall. We saw the southern wall where the stairs are, and we also saw here now, we started to see the eastern wall, and these stones that we're seeing are original, folks. All the big stones that we're seeing are original from the time of Jesus. So it's really admirable, the size of this structure. Another thing, I don't know if you've noticed where we are. Dad, show them where we are passing. What is this?
These are Muslim graves.
Exactly, these are the Muslim graves that we see here. So on the other side of the valley, that cemetery that we've seen several times, we're looking at it here. On that side is a Jewish cemetery. At the bottom of the Cedron Valley, there is a small Christian cemetery, but here, glued to the walls, the third cemetery is the Muslim cemetery. We have to remember that here in biblical times, it would be very difficult to have a cemetery, because if in biblical times, the majority of the city's population was Jewish. The temple is considered a sacred place.
And
we don't want to have impurities next to a sacred place. And for Judaism, dead people, regardless of their religion, are considered impure. And that's why cemeteries were not built attached to the Jerusalem temple. They were built outside the city and preferably at a minimum distance from the temple. Interesting.
here they made use of all the space, yes.
Exactly. We see, and there's also a difference between the Jewish cemetery and the Muslim cemetery. In the Jewish cemetery, at least nowadays, the person is buried and we leave the person there. We don't remove them. In the Muslim cemetery, yes, the bodies are removed after a few years. The grave can be reopened, the body removed and reused. So this cemetery is also already a few centuries old. And it's constantly in use, but because they are always removing.
I wasn't understanding these more recent graves. It's because they are reusing the space.
Exactly. I mean, we have here a centuries-old cemetery, but that's why if we look, most of the graves here are less than 10 years old, precisely because they are being reused. The Waqf is responsible for the maintenance and care of this place. The Waqf is a Jordanian Muslim organization. They take care of the Muslim holy places or places administered by them, for example, the Temple Mount. So the same organization that takes care of the Temple Mount, the Dome of the Rock, the Holy of Holies, is the same organization that takes care of this place here. And also, Let's see, we often pass by here and we see how the cemetery is active because we literally see coffins here. We always see coffins around here, usually more from the other end of the cemetery. I'll show you any if I see them. And now Modi can turn around and show you where we are walking as well. One tip I want to give you is how we know what is original from the biblical period and what is more recent. There are some things that are a bit obvious. If we see, for example, here, written in Arabic, we know that they are relatively more recent. They cannot be from the biblical period because Islam, the Arabs, and the Muslims arrived in Jerusalem in the year 638 AD. So it's from the post-biblical period. But another tip I can give you is to look at the size of the stones. Look at the wall that is behind us at this moment. You can see that the stones are small. In biblical times, especially in the time of Herod and in the time of Jesus, when they built with gigantic stones like the ones we saw at the beginning. In more modern times, they tend to build with smaller stones. So what happens is small stones, that is, this part of the wall was destroyed and rebuilt. When we see large stones, they are probably more original. So always pay attention to the size of the stones to know, at least have an idea of the age of the building. But let's keep walking through the cemetery. I'm also keeping a bit quiet so you can enjoy the view, enjoy this place, which is really so different. We don't always have permission to film in this place, so we're really happy today to be able to show you this place in such a calm and peaceful way. We're also seeing a small carpet here. Look where I am. There's, for example, a small carpet. These carpets are Muslim prayers, so Muslims don't need to pray inside mosques, inside Muslim places. They can pray anywhere as long as they are clean, so they purify their hands, feet, and head. And they also usually need a carpet to pray, so we often see these carpets and they take them, spread them on the ground and pray. There are 5
times a day, right?
Exactly.
They pray?
They pray 5 times a day. So imagine 5 times a day, all 5 times going to the mosque. It's a bit unfeasible for most people, but they don't have this religious obligation. They can pray wherever they are, but always
facing Mecca, am I right?
About that, exactly. They pray facing Mecca. And where is Mecca? Here, in that direction. Mecca is to the south of Israel. So Mecca, which is now Saudi Arabia, is in that direction. So they are here in Jerusalem praying in the direction of Mecca. Meanwhile, Jews, when they pray here, they always pray in the direction of Jerusalem. Jews from all over the world
pray in the
direction of Jerusalem. But if we are in Jerusalem, which direction do we pray? From
the wall.
Exactly, from the temple, from the remains of the Jerusalem temple. This includes the Wailing Wall. Here we are also seeing, perhaps for many, this may seem like a kind of rosary, but it is not. You can see that there is no cross at the end. It is indeed these little balls. This here is a traditional Muslim prayer thing, so I don't know if someone lost it, if someone left it here on purpose. We're going to leave it in place. But so we see that this is indeed a place that is still in use by Muslims to this day. But the reason we are here is to see the Golden Gate, to understand what it is and whether it is open or not and what that really means. So we're going to get to it in a few minutes. But before that, I also want to take the opportunity to read the passage, why the Golden Gate, what it is, why it is so enigmatic, and read the passage. So we're going to walk to its side, and then we're really going to start understanding what's happening in this place and if there's a forecast for the gate to open or if it has already opened. Let's go. We can see that there are some people working here, but we're going to continue our journey. And now let's understand what the Golden Gate is and why it's so important. It was one of the entrances to the city of Jerusalem in the times of Jesus, and the only access that led directly from outside the city to the Temple of Jerusalem. This was not a door used by people normally in everyday life. It was a door reserved for special events and people. An example is also that the sacrificial lamb was brought through here, so we really see that it was a special gate. And that's why Jesus, most of the time, when he came and went from Jerusalem, he probably went and came back through the southern gates, the gates that led to the stairs. But on a very special day, the Sunday before Easter, Jesus comes from the top of the Mount of Olives, riding on a little white donkey. He descends the Mount of Olives, passes through the Cedron Valley, and climbs up to here and goes straight ahead. Right here, he enters the Golden Gate, which was then an open gate. Not everyone used it, but you could enter and exit through it. And Jesus enters it in the triumphant entrance, and a great celebration takes place. However, after this event, 33 years after this event, in the year 66, the great Jewish rebellion against the Romans begins. Jerusalem is destroyed, and its temple is also destroyed in the year 70 AD. Part of the base of the infrastructure continues to exist to this day, such as the stairs and the pinnacle, but the central part of the temple and the Holy of Holies really leaves no stone upon stone. And here the location of the Golden Gate, it remained open for a few centuries later. Even though the temple no longer existed, the gate itself remained open for a few centuries. But then it will be sealed. It will be sealed for the last time during the Muslim period. The Muslims will simply close it with stones, as we saw in all the videos we showed on the channel here in the past. The gate completely sealed with stones. Little did they know that when they closed the gate to precisely avoid this entrance, avoid this very path that Jesus took, they hardly knew that this was precisely connected with a biblical prophecy. See what is written in the book of Ezekiel 44. Then he made me return to the way of the outer gate of the sanctuary, which looks to the east, which was closed. And the Lord said to me, this gate will remain closed. It will not open. No one will enter through it. Because the Lord, the God of Israel, has entered through it, therefore it will remain closed. As for the prince, being a prince, he will sit in it forever to eat bread before the Lord. He will enter by the way of the vestibule of the gate and shall go out by the same way. See that when Ezekiel wrote this prophecy, this door was open, but in the prophecy it is written that it will be closed and that it will reopen. So when the Muslims close this gate, they are indirectly contributing to the fulfillment of what Ezekiel had written a very, very long time ago. And not only that, not only do the Muslims close the gate, but they also build a cemetery in front. The cemetery is a problematic issue because, again, when we talk about the entrance to the Temple of Jerusalem, people need to be pure and cross directly through a cemetery and over graves. As here would be the case, the person would become impure. In the case of the Mount of Olives, yes, it is a path that we can cross without directly passing over graves, but here there would not be. So, in a certain way, all of this that was built helped to close the gate for centuries, but the prophecies do speak that it will reopen one day, and this probable day is connected to future events of a magnitude really that we cannot comprehend. And really, when we see the gate open, it will be a historic event, not only for Jerusalem, not only for Israel, for the whole world. And now I want you to look with your own eyes at the Golden Gate and see that it is closed. Unfortunately, we see that on the internet there are many news being propagated and not all news are true. There's a lot really happening here in Jerusalem, excavations being done, archaeological discoveries. The red cows, for example, they were indeed brought to Israel and are ready for sacrifice. There's a lot really happening. We showed you here on the channel, I can also link it for you later, about the red cows, about the third temple of Jerusalem and all the reality that is indeed happening. But we also have to have a commitment to the truth and talk about what is not happening. And at the moment I'm talking to you today on September 8th, a beautiful sunny Sunday here in Jerusalem, the Golden Gate remains closed. I can't guarantee that it will remain closed tomorrow or that something gigantic will happen in the next few hours, but really today, at this moment, it is closed and we don't see any sign here of its reopening. On the contrary, we are seeing here the Muslims doing all the traditional preparations they do in the cemetery. People continue to be buried. They continue here doing the maintenance, cutting the trees. So at least here, what we can see with our own eyes is that life goes on as normal. The future, folks, the Bible tells us that yes, something very big is going to happen, but the day is not yet today. So I hope I have helped a little here to clarify the reality that is really happening at this location. And I want to invite my father here, also thank him for his presence. I thank you. It was a
Pleasure to accompany you in this.
Wonderful laziness.
And
I want to know, what are your last words for everyone today?
I'm waiting for you. In March and May of 2025 on Unforgettable Tours, guys. Look closely where Aline is directing.
So guys, www.israelwithaline.com.br. We'll see each other maybe on these caravans with Aline here in Israel, or in Turkey, Greece, Jordan, and Egypt with Jorge. So I wish a beautiful and blessed Sunday to all of you, and we'll see each other here next Sunday. Shalom, and see you next time.